Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. The spring election is coming up on Tuesday, April 5th. The Wisconsin Government Accountability Board is predicting high voter turnout of 40%, and that's the highest in a presidential primary since 1980. Milwaukee's mayoral race will also be on the ballot, and my next guest is running against incumbent Tom Barrett, 8th District Alderman Bob Donovan, who's currently serving his 4th term on the Milwaukee Common Council. He was born and raised on Milwaukee's South Side, and it's a pleasure to have him here with us today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great, Andrea. Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and let's just jump right into things. Let's start off talking about crime in our city. I believe a lot of the crime, especially in hosting this show, stems from things like a lack of jobs, poverty. I want to know specifically with the number of homicides last year being at 145, what would be your goals of tackling crime in our city?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I would argue that the role of the Milwaukee Police Department, first and foremost, is to maintain order and stability in our community. The only way you can really do that is connecting with the public. So we've had issues over the years connecting in a positive way with the public, working hand in hand. I have argued that we do need to increase the number of officers, that the mayor has decreased over the years. I'm merely arguing we need to get back to the same level of officers that we had in 2008 when Chief Flynn came on board. Those officers deployed appropriately, especially on walking beats, bicycle beats. I believe strongly that's how you maintain order in a neighborhood, but also those same officers, day in and day out, getting to know the people they're protecting, and vice versa, can make a world of difference, improving order and stability, reducing crime, but also improving police-community relations. So that, in addition to, we desperately need to take a good, hard, close look and upgrade and change our juvenile justice system. That's going to require partnering with the state of Wisconsin. I believe some of the policing policies that we've implemented have actually, although implemented, I'm sure, for good reasons, have led to a less safe community. And I'm specifically referring to the pursuit policy. And we're hearing this from criminals themselves, who many of whom are coming up to Milwaukee. There was a recent article in the Journal-Sentinel coming up here from Chicago. They were committing their crimes or mobile drug houses, knowing full well that the police won't chase them. And so, you know, it's a green light, no pun intended, but that's what's occurring. So a lot of changes like that need to occur.
Okay, and so when you talk about bringing on more police officers, do you already have in mind where that money would come from or what might be cut from the budget in order to make that happen?
Well, first of all, we had the money back in '08. Okay. So where it's gone since is hard to say. I would argue this. We have a $1.5 billion budget. Within that, that means $1,500 million that we have to operate our city. If policing is the priority that it needs to be, I would argue we can find those resources. But there are also a number of opportunities available to us that I don't believe we've exploited at all. Working with our suburban counterparts, again, partnering with the state. I've had preliminary meetings with a number of our state legislators who are interested in perhaps the state help funding some of our cops, some of our suburban cops also, because the problems go beyond Milwaukee. A lot of Milwaukee's the epicenter for a lot of these problems, but it is spreading to our suburbs. They know it, I know it. We need to, take those steps to deal effectively. So I believe the resources are there. It's management, it's prioritizing, and working hand in hand with other levels of government.
And since we're talking about law enforcement and crime, it was Sheriff David Clark who has endorsed you that said, quote, "We need a mayor who won't be referred to as a nice guy, but a fighter for all Milwaukeeans." You do have a reputation of being rather outspoken, but you probably feel like you're a nice guy at the same time.
Well,
right?
absolutely. You know, I can give you any number of people who will tell you I'm a nice guy. Having said that, I am very passionate about this city. I love Milwaukee. I have tried my best, Andrea, to represent my constituents passionately, to stand up for what their concerns are, because I'm their voice at City Hall. And I have tried to engage in common sense and representing them as best I can. And sometimes you need to get that message out. You need to stand up and have the courage to tell the truth to people, because there are some people who simply don't want to hear it, including the mayor.
Well, the nation's highest unemployment rate, unfortunately, is right here in Milwaukee. You say that's completely unacceptable. How would you go about trying to lower those numbers and bring jobs to our area?
First of all, creating a sense of urgency. The mayor, it almost sounds like he's running for his first term in office. He's been mayor for 12 years. These problems haven't just arrived. They've been festering and getting worse over the last decade. What we need to do is create that sense of urgency. I want to create jobs ambassadors throughout the city, working closely with our successful businesses. I want to be meeting with our business owners and operators on a regular basis, finding out what we can do as local government to help them succeed. I will jump on a plane and go wherever is necessary to attract businesses to come to Milwaukee. But in addition to that, Milwaukee has a responsibility to its local government, a responsibility to implement its core mission. Now, what is that mission of local government? I would argue it's rather basic. Keep our streets safe, educate our kids, provide for a good working infrastructure. When we're building our roads and paving our roads and putting in new sewers and so on, get those unemployed people on those projects. But also, we need to improve our schools and give kids the opportunity and training they need to be successful.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And when we talk about the numbers, when it comes to unemployment, African American men are at the top of the list. And there's a lot of the concern with the incarceration rate, specifically the state of Wisconsin. So when African American men who are incarcerated are getting out of prison, how do we find them jobs that will allow them to not feel like they have to find an alternative way to make money to survive?
Sadly, far too many revert back to the criminal ways because those opportunities don't exist. I believe strongly any individual who spends years in prison needs to come out of that system with a skill or a trade or an education. So first and foremost, we have to work with our state, with our corrections department to ensure that that's happening. So that and it shouldn't take a huge sums of money to teach an individual to be a drywaller or a carpenter or skills like that. But then at least they have a skill that we can put, when we have our foreclosure crisis and the board up homes, there are opportunities that we need to jump on in getting some of these individuals working on those jobs as roofers, as things like that, jobs that are needed, that you can make a decent living. Yeah, you're going to have to work, but at least it's something. So, opportunities like that I think we need to really exploit.
All right. And I have to bring up some political ads that are running, and really anybody that's paid attention to politics, whether from a national standpoint or local, state, whatever the case, there's always interesting ads to go along with it. And there's one in particular that the Barrett campaign is running that describes you as having the ideas of Scott Walker and the temperament of Donald Trump. And the ad also talks about or suggests that you slapped a man in front of a 6-year-old child. I'm sure you would like to respond to those claims.
Well, let me say this, Andrea. First of all, I think it's awfully sad, really sad, when you have a 12-year incumbent Milwaukee mayor who apparently doesn't have a record to run on, so he feels he has to engage in negative advertising. I have avoided that. I've never played that game, and I don't intend on starting now. I have kept to the issues and the facts. Now, having said that, I don't know what he might be referring to when he talks about ideas of Scott Walker and the temperament of Donald Trump. I will say this: I am very passionate for what I believe in. I have the energy and vitality and commitment to take those dreams and ideas to fruition. I don't believe we have that currently in our mayor. As far as Scott Walker's ideas, I don't know what he's referring to, because as Alderman, I have done my best to stand up and represent the views of my constituents. What he is referring to in slapping an individual in front of a 6-year-old, I have absolutely no idea what he may be referring to by that. But when people engage in that kind of politics, that speaks volumes as to how bankrupt they have become, bankrupt of ideas, bankrupt of a vision or a plan that they feel are important to talk about.
All right, we've got just about 2 minutes left, and I want to also mention that you've been endorsed by Alderman Joe Davis Sr., and he has been on the show to talk about his opposition of the streetcar. You've been outspoken and opposing it for, I think, like the last 6 years. So talk about why you really don't want to see a streetcar in downtown Milwaukee.
Well, first of all, I don't think it's really solving any current problem. That's number one. Number two, and I try and represent my constituents and their views. I believe that's my job. In my travels across Milwaukee, I continually hear from people who think it's the absolute worst idea, why we're pouring $125 million into this project that in most every other city has had to be subsidized with free rides and all of that to try and make it look like it's successful, with all the people opposed to it, it not making sense. It's 19th century technology, fixed rail. The mayor likes to talk that the young people are going to love this. Well, this is the generation of Uber and Lyft, of instant access from your smartphone to a ride, taking you where you want to go, not where government says you need to go in the circle downtown. So I could go on and on as to reasons why I oppose it, but mostly what hurts me the most is the mayor's refusal to support a referendum on it. I felt this was sufficiently controversial enough to warrant a referendum. He refused to support that. So that's telling in itself as well. He knows the majority of people don't support it.
Well, wrapping up, I'd like for you to let our viewers at home know, what are you most proud of as far as your accomplishments as the 8th District Alderman of Milwaukee?
I will tell you this, Andrea. The thing I'm most proud about was said, believe it or not, by the Shepherd Express years ago, when they did an article about my efforts as alderman in the 8th District. They said this: he's empowering his constituents and making a difference. That was the nicest compliment, I believe, any elected official could receive. And that made me feel good. And that's, I will stake my work ethic and accomplishments up against any one of my colleagues. But that was the nicest compliment of all the things that I have tried to do over the years and have done to better my district.
Well, I thank you so much for coming by and talking to us today. I know this has been an extremely busy time for you.
It promises to get busier.
Well, best of luck to you. The general election is coming up on Tuesday, April 5th, and 8th District Alderman Bob Donovan is running against incumbent Tom Barrett to be Milwaukee's next mayor. Again, you can log on to city.milwaukee.gov or call 414-286-VOTE for more information. That is going to do it for today. today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, I thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues, Milwaukee. Have a great day.